there, welcome to the latest episode of Craig Cushman Talks To, and this one is a live breaking news about Angela Rayner. I don't think there's too many people surprised by what's happened here. This story's been on for a few days, and she's suddenly decided that she can't be the Deputy Prime Minister because of the allegations about her evading tax. So, Basil, what's your first opinion on this? What's
I wasn't surprised. I was surprised she went today. I thought they would hold it until Monday, which suggests to me there's something else in the news cycle that's going to come up next week that the Labour Party want to get out. So that they're basically doing it today so that the weekend can kind of peter it out a little bit. Look, Angela Rayner, it's... You know what? Rupert Law made a really good point about this today. He said, she's annoyed everyone, right? Because there's some people in this country who are on the left who think taxes are, really high is really good, and people should pay the taxes and all the rest of it, and the taxation system that's what it's for, right? Raise as much money as possible, rip everyone off. And Angela Rayner's annoyed them by not paying a tax, but then also with people who would usually naturally come to a defence, the people on the right who say, well, taxes are too high. And, I can understand why you would use a tax avoidance scheme to get out of paying tax if it's available to you. They can't defend her either because she's been a massive hypocrite. She has, for the longest time, promoted the idea that anybody using tax avoidance schemes are criminal, should be criminal, shall I say, are evil, etc. I mean, she's gone after literally everyone on this. And when she was in opposition, which wasn't that long ago, she would absolutely berate the Tories for any inclination that they were avoiding tax. So the hypocrisy alone has pushed her over the edge, I think.
Yeah, and I think this is screamed at me statement, right? It's obviously some moves afoot by her. She wanted to be the next leader of the Labour Party. That's obvious for anybody that paid her much attention. She tried to checkmate two of her potential biggest threats to do that, who would be Can and Andy Burnham, who looked as if they were fancied the job as well. So she put through a bill. Now this is bonkers. The timing of it is, you need to consider the timing of this. So for the bill to pass, it needs to get read 3 times. It's been through twice, and she's passed. Right now, what the bill she was putting through, it was all dressed up that it was giving more devolved powers to English councils, right, and the mayors. But in there, buried in it, was this part that said that if you're a mayor, you cannot stand in an election MP. So these guys would need to do. Another thing to know is the Labour Party have a rule where the leader has to be an MP. So Andy Burnham right now cannot be the leader of that party. So they first need to get themselves elected. So she's kind of trying to checkmate them there. And it's no surprise. I have no doubts whatsoever that this story has been leaked by people within our own party. This isn't the Tories or Reform or anybody else trying to stitch up the Deputy Prime Minister. This has all been leaked by our own party. Do you agree with my statement there, Basil, or do you think I'm bonkers?
By the way, a few people saying they can't hear you, Craig, that you're a bit low volume-wise. I don't know if you can turn yourself up somehow. But yeah, I absolutely agree with you. And you know what? This is an internal civil war within the Labour Party. We've basically had two parties this year that have had an absolute nightmare because they can't agree to disagree amicably. One's Reform, the other one is Labour, and they can't get themselves together. And look, within the government, this sometimes happens when you get to an end of a government, but not at the start. And not at a government where you've got a 400-seat majority. I mean, this is absolutely insane. But if you look at why they're doing this, it's because not only do they want to screw each other over to get the top job, they see blood in the water for Keir Starmer too. They don't believe he's going to outlast this parliament. They think the top job is going to become available and they need to start fighting over it now. And as you've just pointed out, Angela Rayner has brought forward a bill that would have seen Andy Burnham and Sadiq Khan, and every other mayor, by the way, but those are our two opponents, not allowed to stand to be a member of parliament while they are mayors. Now, Why is that important? Because obviously to be the leader of the Labour Party, you have to be a member of Parliament. It's in the rules of the party. So that goes to show that she's angling to make sure she can cut off her nearest rivals. Now, there are other rivals within the Labour Party who Angela's got to contest with, or would have had to contest with, shall I say, Wes Street, Yvette Cooper, those kind of people. But Angela had only them two to compete for, really, for the support of the unions, right? And Angela wanted to be the darling of the unions. She obviously also pandered for the Muslim bloc vote. We all saw that particular video. And like I say, it goes to show that these people are not interested in running the country. They're not interested in getting things better. What they're interested in is their own egos, their own position, so that they can one day turn around and say, I led the Labour Party, or hopefully that, I guess they're hoping for, that they ran the country. It's despicable. And you know what? I'm glad to see the back of her.
Mm-hmm. Is that better, the audio now?
I can hear you a lot clearer. I hope they can too.
Yeah, some of the people that were saying they couldn't hear me, I've turned up the mic and the receiver for it, so hopefully it's a bit clearer now. Yeah, I mean, anybody that thinks that this was a big bad world out to get her, I mean, what I've seen is fantastic over the last 48 hours. The actual mental gymnastics being played by some of the left, who are now trying to justify that it's all right to evade tax. And the biggest one was, well, she took advice. Well, that's right. But when you take advice off a professional for anything, whether it's legal advice or accountancy advice, what tax advice, whatever it is, they can only give you advice based on your answers to their questions. Now, I'm quite sure, it's been a while since I bought a house, but I'm quite sure when it gets to the bit about the stamp duty, that there'll be a questionnaire. Is this your sole property? We'll probably be right up there with the questions, right? So she must have gave an answer. They didn't make it up. So see all this bollocks about, poor Angela, she just relied on advice. No here, no. Another thing that's despicable, you know what turned me into an interest in politics, and that was something that happened in Scotland with an MSP and a £11,000 bill that he planted on the Scottish purse while his roaming charges while he was in Holland, right? And what he done, it wasn't the fact that he done that, that's normal, right? What was the thing that got me nuts was the kids, the excuses, and I'm bringing my kids in. And he actually said, I wanted to protect my kids. In the end, he flung them under the bus and said it was them playing games on their computers, right? She's doing the exact same. Nobody's to bother with my privacy, but suddenly I've got a poor kid. And I'm quite sure the child's life's a bit shit, right? But you're bringing that to the table now. Do you know what I mean? You can't bring that to the table just suddenly when you want the world to feel sorry for you. And I'm kind of sick of it, to be perfectly honest with you.
I agree, mate. And exactly, it's the way in which the contempt with which they run the country. They genuinely have no interest in fixing the dire straits this country is in. They basically are only interested in their own career opportunities, and that's why I have no doubt that this slide will continue. We're not going to see any upward trends from this Labour government. Okay, it's only going to fall even further. So, as I said, I just think that Angela Rayner, good riddance. I want to see the other ones go as well. I want to see more resignations, and ultimately, I want to see Keir Starmer be found to have a vote of no confidence, and we get a general election. But let's see what happens there.
Do you think that's more likely now?
That a general election will happen? Well, to have a general election, they'd have to have 100 of their own MPs basically side with the opposition. I think that it's more likely now that Angela Rayner's gone because she was seen as a darling of the left. And they thought that Angela Rayner might be able to cut off some of the defections to Corbyn. Now, it depends on what Keir Starmer does, but I think what he's going to do is he's going to put in place a Blairite, someone who's not of the left. I think he's going to, there'll be a deputy leadership election, obviously, for the Labour Party. That's the way it works. But he will tip the scales on that one. I'm not actually sure what happens actually whether they resign midway through office. We'll have to check that, but yeah, I think ultimately you'll see a Blairite get into that deputy leader position, and the left will be even more angry, and even more of them will defect to Jeremy Corbyn's party. And while I still don't think, it's more likely that there'll be a general election than not before the end of the Parliament, it is more likely today as a result, yeah. You still there, Craig?
So what do you think made her jump? Do you hear me that?
Oh, sorry, mate, you broke up there. Say that again.
Hi, I'm saying, what do you think was the final straw for her? Do you think it's just pressure from party, or do you think there's maybe a legal issue here?
I think that the pressure from the party will have got to her more than anything, because at the end of the day, Keir Starmer will have decided whether she has to leave or not. It's the same with everyone in politics. When they resign, they are told, we will sack you or you can resign. And that's the way it is. So let's not go the sacking route, and you just resign. And obviously that's to do with receiving pension payments and wages and all the rest of it, right? So she's basically been told she has to leave. Keir Starmer will have told her, you have to leave. This is now, and the buck stops with him. There's only one person above her in the whole of government, and that's Keir Starmer. So there's only him who can sack her. Now, remember, a couple of days ago, he said that he intends to do everything he can to keep Angela in place, right? So that means that, unless he was lying, which I wouldn't put it past him, obviously. I wouldn't put it past him, but if he was telling the truth, I think people around him will have said, well, she has to go because it's setting a bad example and all the rest of it. And you've got to remember, Craig, what was this because of? Why did this happen, right? The reason why Angela Rayner dodged that tax is because she wanted to get it cheaper on buying a house. The reason she bought that house 200 odd miles away from where her constituency is because she wanted to change constituency. She wanted to be the elected representative of Hove, not of Ashfield, where she is right now. And so why did she do that? Because she wants a nice, safe seat. Her current safe seat has been lost. The polls are showing Reform would take it. So she wanted another safe seat. It was all about ego. All of this has been driven by her desire to remain at the top of the Labour Party and one day run it. And I'm pleased to say her ego has brought everything crashing down. And now we'll never see her probably in government ever again.
Well, yeah, but you've also got to remember that Starmer, his job was at risk. Because she wanted his job. She was very, very clear that she wanted his job. It was clear to everybody that she wanted his job. And this bollocks that, I'm going to do everything to protect her. I ain't learning it. And what I've learned in my short term involved with politics and politicians and political parties is every single last one of them, once they get elected, turn into an absolute lunatic. And they only care about themselves. None of them care about their parties. None of them care about their constituents. None of them care about their country. All they care about is themselves. And Starmer, if I could see what was going on with, 2 years of experience being even interested in politics, he surely must have seen it. And, I said, as soon as the story came out, I said, the Labour Party have made this story public. But nobody else would. And, and now to see that some of the mental gymnastics being applied here are just phenomenal, right? It's just so cringeworthy that we've got to feel sorry for Angela. And people going, well, this is all misogynistic. This is because she's working class. No, there's two things it's because. One, she tried to bump 40 grand of stamp duty. Well, she did, right? She only got caught. And two, she was trying to make a power move to be the leader. And it's backfired on her. The people that could see that move coming were looking for anything to hang her. So there is a civil war in the Labour Party, and she is probably the first publicly viewable victim of that. And it's all her own demise. She's trying to play politics, and people that are better at it than her have made her pay. I ain't feel sorry for any of them.
I don't feel sorry for any of them
I'm
either,
shouting
mate.
to my mic up.
Nah, I don't feel sorry for them either, mate. And do you know what? What I'll say is this: that this will not be the last of this government to fall. They are corrupt. They are cronies. They are not fit to serve in the government of the United Kingdom. They're appalling, and I can't wait to see the back of them. We're just going to have to watch the whole sorry show play out as they turn on each other and they backbite and all the rest of it, as we drag our feet all the way until inevitably they are voted out of office. And long may that day continue.
Aye, it's a wee shame, isn't it? Another socialist millionaire telling everybody else how they've to, to live their life. Well, she's got, what's it, 3 houses?
Aye,
The
3
second
houses
one
now.
is a 700, yeah, a £700,000 flat.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the mad thing is, somebody's quoted her wealth as being 4 or 5 million quid. Now, she's not Nancy Pelosi levels, right? But I'm kind of trying to figure out how somebody that earns £90,000 a year does have living expenses, because like having 3 houses costs money, A, to buy them, and B, to keep them, right? How do you do that? When, by the way, it's only the latest part of her career she's earned £90,000. I don't think she made that much previous to this, right? Well, she's on more now, I believe, obviously. She's a cabinet minister the last 12 months. So she's probably on about 127 grand just those last 12 months. How's it possible? How do you do that? Please tell me. How do you end up with all these properties, all this apparent wealth? Now, I'm quoting somebody else's figure. It might be wrong, but the figures were between 4 to 5 million pound worth of wealth. How do you accumulate that when you don't earn anywhere near that? How does it work, Basil?
Mate, but listen, if I knew, I'd be doing it myself. I mean, Jesus, how is it possible to earn sort of 4 or 5 times your salary when supposedly everything is declared? I have no idea, mate. And you know what? Any journalist who can work that out, you will win awards for that, because something drastically went on there. Now, look, it's probably, if I had to guess, it's probably in stocks and shares. That's what they do in America. It's well known in America that they get tip-offs. This is called insider trading. It should be, well, it is illegal, but, it goes on. And, maybe that's how she's done it. I mean, what surprises me even more is that, again, this is a woman on a job who's like £90,000 a year. Very substantial sum. But this is an £800,000 home, right? Now, after tax, bearing in mind she'll be on the 45% tax bracket, I believe. That, or is it 40%? I can't remember. Either way, it's a substantial amount of tax. It's not like she has all that money to herself. A lot of it is recouped in tax. So you've got to sit there and think, well, an £800,000 mortgage. Now, she put down £150,000 as a deposit. So that's a £650,000 mortgage for a job that you can lose very easily on a 5-year cycle, maximum. So I don't understand how politicians get this kind of mortgage based on their current salary, because this is not supposed to be one of those careers where it's like, well, we believe you'll be in this for life. At the end of the day, if you're a trained engineer or whatever, and you leave that job, likelihood is you can use your skills to go and get a similar job in the engineering sector. But politicians don't do that. There isn't another job Angela can walk into that gives her £90,000 a year, because the skill set is, I got elected. That's it. There's no training involved. So the question is how can they justify doing that? Again, where's her other income coming from? That's what surprises me. That's what I want to know, because apparently she's from a working class background. Her boyfriend, he lives separately. It just doesn't make sense to me. Something's gone on, and I'll tell you right now, I guarantee you, there'll be people out there wanting to investigate it. And I hope they do, and I hope they find out the whole rotten story.
Yeah. Just to say thanks to Tony Max, a super sticker for a £5. That money goes to buy equipment. Tony, anybody that puts money into the channel, or just recently bought a drone, bought some new microphones, but I kind of not figured out how to work it properly yet. So thanks very much for that, mate. It is appreciated. I think there'll be a lot of people out there will be trying to figure out now, because this in plain sight. How do you manage to accumulate? And now that figure, I must stress, may not be accurate. It was someone else's claim. It was 45, I think it was like 4.7 million. That was kind of the figure. And I thought, well, how do you do that? How do you accumulate that much wealth when you're not a leader of the industry? You don't, you know, even though you don't get your own business. It just kind of seems a bit weird to me. But it is what it is, and that might be stage 2. So is there anything that we've missed in the story, Basil?
No, mate, as far as I'm aware, that's pretty much everything. I think I'm going to have to open a Twitter space, though, because there's a lot of people wanting to talk about this.
I guess they will. Well, listen, thanks for joining us. It's much appreciated. So there we go, folks. The first big one, I think, to bite the dust. And I don't think it's Basil. I agree with Basil there. It's not going to be the last. There's definitely a civil war going on inside this Labour Party. People have been wanting another election since the last one finished. A lot of people have been saying that, you know, they'll not last a full term. But as Basil pointed out, we need 100 Labour MPs to agree to have another election. That'll be the tricky bit. And the other thing is, there'll be people in other seats that are not safe seats as well, in other parties. You know, obviously you've got the Forum polling better than they did at the election, so some people would think, well, my seat's not safe. Now you've got Advance through their cards on the table. They're, you know, I interviewed Ben Habib the other day, and he was quite clear that their map is to get to 2039. Now, if other things happen in between, Scottish elections, Welsh elections, local elections, then fine, but their whole game is set for 2039. If there was, you know, a rise in there, then there's other people got to consider, is my seat safe? And MPs quite like their £90,000 salaries. And some of them, if they're on their second term, are then going to qualify for pensions, right? Boy, that has to come into play because the type of people there. So I ain't convinced, but it's closer today with this news than it was yesterday, that's for sure. So thanks everybody for tuning in. For those who are avid watchers of the channel, I've had a wee problem with a lot of people suggesting that they're no longer subscribed, although they've never unsubscribed and their notifications are not coming through. So if you were a subscriber, just please double check while you're on the subscribe button on the, if you're watching YouTube, show available to click it or not. If it's available to click, you're somehow unsubscribed, which is a bit weird. Thanks for those who have tuned in. The most important thing of all, unless you're the type of person that spends your political career decrying people that don't pay tax, screaming to tax the rich, then when you become rich and you are due taxes, you somehow forget to pay £40,000 worth of them. So not you. Everyone else, have a great day. Cheery bye now.
This is Johnny. Johnny, what's your second name?
John McCutcheon,
And how old are you?
92.
And